Alright then, so thought it was about time I did a video that put a bit of focus on this crazy thing here, the Kraken. And I sort of said that I'd post a few things about the changes to the Z drive for the Ingentis as well. So I'm going to do those two things together. So the Kraken, yeah, there it is, look. It's all working fine at the moment. It's only doing single extruding at the moment. That's only because I keep on making like stupid errors or failing to think about something when it comes to setting up dual extrusion. So I have two air tripper drives at the back here, all ready to go, with the exception that this one, as you may be able to see, is lacking its idler, and that's because I managed to break the other one, not because there's anything wrong with the design as much as the fact that I'm just a bit of an idiot. So that's what's being printed at the moment. I'm using Kiss Slicer and it's doing some supports because the air tripper, the only thing that's really wrong with it is that the idler just doesn't print very nicely at all in ABS. It always comes out a bit rough looking. I think I've chucked away all the failures recently, so I can't show you what that looks like. But yeah, so Kiss does a better job with supports than most other things, and it's a bit more configurable. Cura sort of makes its own decisions, and sadly it's not quite as pessimistic as it should be when it comes to ABS supports as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so yeah, okay, so I thought I'd show the way that the Kraken's set up. So at the moment it's got the 4 bowed-in tubes all plumbed in, and they go into little fittings in the top, which there's no way you're going to be able to see nicely given this damn thing's moving and the light's all funny, but that should give you a vague idea. And then we've obviously got the 2 water tubes here, so an inflow and an outflow, and I'll see the heater cables, and then there's a single, it's actually a 9-core serial cable that I chopped the ends off, and you can see it here, and that then is broken out into 4 sets of 2 cables that I've then soldered and crimped thermistors onto, and they all go into the hot ends there. I should have really tidied this one up so it wasn't all wonky, but yeah, you can get the idea. Cable management is still something I'm sort of toying with this thing, because I haven't really locked anything in yet, and cables in general is one of those things that I've been sort of avoiding doing because frankly it's tedious and I've been having too much fun doing other stuff. Yeah, so but you can see that I've been playing around with these little things that I've been printing. So initially I was hoping to sort of build like a spine that went all the way across, but it turns out it's just completely unnecessary really. I don't think it will provide any real useful support for all the tubes here, and in fact the PVC tubes here, they're not exactly rigid, but they give a certain degree of support. You see it's a bit wonky at the moment, but that's only because I haven't done the final thing which I need to do here, which is to put a little support at the very rear, which I'll articulate to some degree, and that should keep everything nice and tidy upright. But I haven't really done any of that because I haven't locked in what I'm doing with the cables and so on, so at the moment this is all sort of temporary cabling, just while I'm sort of playing around with it. Now, what else do I need to talk about with respect to Kraken? Oh yeah, Ghetto water cooling solution. So here it is. How's that? Now you may be wondering what the hell's going on here. This is in fact a Tupperware container into which I've drilled 2 holes, which is slightly smaller than the PVC tube. And so the PVC tube takes a bit of effort to push through there, but it does give a nice seal, so there's no chance of water spurting out everywhere. And then I've put a proper gland on here which takes a power cable in, and inside you may just be able to see a little fish tank pump. So that's like, oh I don't know, it's like 0.5 amps, 12 volt, no it's not even that, it's really low ampage. And because it's a fish tank pump, it's designed to be on all the time, so that has been running probably for the last 2 or 3 weeks solidly, never turned off, and so far no leaks at all. Initially when I got the Kraken set up, and it's kind of because it's a beta, well not even a beta, but pre-beta model, there's a few things that Sanjay and his guys hadn't sort of completely locked in, particularly with the grub screws on the end, and the way that the barbs that the tubes go onto, which you should just be able to see through the tube there, are inserted. So the feedback that Richard Horn and I have given them is sort of allowed them to develop that a little bit. So initially when I had it set up, I was having a few little leaks, but I resolved all of those, and certainly when the feedback that's gone to the E3D guys will mean that the betas, and I suspect the production ones, won't have any of those issues. In fact, they're going to do all the watertight sealing stuff in the factory by the sound of it, so the ones that get sent out will be tight and almost certainly tested as well, which will be good. Anyway, so that's the Kraken. Hopefully this evening I'll even have it doing dual extrusion, because it's all ready to go. I've got some hips here and some ABS there. Real ghetto way of getting the filament in at the moment, because I keep screwing around with it. So the mounts that I had on the back here I've taken off, because those are the mounts for the filament spools. We're just getting in the way while I've been screwing around with extruders. Yeah, that's that. Okay, Z axis. So I started off initially with the first design I did with having a printed gear system, which wasn't too dissimilar from the way the Wage ones looked, slightly different gear ratio. But what I was finding was that it was making a lot of noise, and it just wasn't really what I wanted it to be. So I moved to a belt thing. So I bought some 200mm GT2 belts, 202mm in fact. And what did I do with those? I initially used a 32 tooth 8mm ball pulley here, and then stuck a 20 tooth one on the back there. But I was finding all these weird surface artifacts coming up, and it seemed to be that it was just that I was using these, I'll find one, these pretty cheapy, in fact effectively free 20 tooth GT2 pulleys from Ret Discount. They just throw them in the box when they give you stuff, and it seemed to be that these were producing some quite obvious layer artifacts. So what I did is I designed and printed a, I can't even remember what this one is now. I think it's about 72 tooth, maybe 76 tooth GT2 pulley with an 8mm bore. It's sort of an adaptation of one of the models you can get from SDP SI. And that seems to work pretty well. So no noticeable layer artifacts at all beyond things like temperature fluctuations and so on there. So it really smooth layers on flat surfaces, which is awesome. And obviously what I previously had here was a 5mm shaft going across that was just too flimsy. I was trying to keep it sort of so that you could just use standard 5mm pulleys, but I've had to go for 8mm GT2 pulleys, which are quite readily available, and that means that I can then use LMU8s on the 8 there. LMU8s, 608 bearings on the end. The camera's now not showing because of the light, rather than the slightly more sort of esoteric 5mm ones that I had to use at the time. So that's pretty cool, and there's less brackets because the 8mm shaft is much stiffer. Yes, that's pretty awesome. What else? I think that might be it. You can see the wiring's still a bit of a disaster. I am going to sort that out, but like I said, it's just a pain, and really until I've got the damn thing locked in, if I actually sort of get all the wiring locked in, I'll only have to pull it out as soon as I start making changes. I'm just investigating what I'm going to put on the outside of this, because at some stage I'm going to cover it up, hopefully within the next few weeks I'll actually be swapping these out for GT2 pulley versions with printed gears on at least one, I think anyway, because as far as I can see there's almost nowhere that supplies GT2 pulleys of any sort of small size that have a 10mm bore, and obviously that's what the shaft is, so it needs those, so I have to print some of those as well. But given the success of the Z axis, I have high hopes for that working, and that I think is it. So yeah, I will post more stuff on the Kraken as I go along, and hopefully I should have some dual extrusion going soon, and maybe even triple extrusion, and that will involve exciting things like nylon and T-glaze and stuff, so that should be cool. Yeah, that's it. Alright.